huge difference. Even other political parties, I mean the other political party leader that's also minister at this moment, that if you look at the support staff, they have many more support staff than the Freedom Front Plus. So it makes a difference. For instance, I write and do all my own speeches. I don't have a speech writer. I have to do my research on certain subjects by myself. It's not that I have this huge or a department saying just, can you please do the following research? I have to do everything myself. So that makes a huge difference.
Sure. There's a pragmatism about that that I can appreciate. But I did notice in your lineup of new leaders, while youth to the front is definitely part of the motto there, stealing from an ANC turn of phrase, and that there aren't many women that you've mentioned as the potential leadership going forward of the FF+. Where are women leadership and leaders in your party?
Well, you're wrong. I became the leader in 2016, November, and the first election in 2019, when I was the leader, I changed the system in the sense of determining the positions on the list. Was based on merit. People and candidates had to write an exam, deliver a speech, and all that sort of thing, and the score was given. And in the 2019 election, we have or had about, for instance, 2 women which were part of the 9. They were young women, and they are still there, both of them. And even on our executive management committee, which consists of 7 people, we also have one of those women, Eloise Denner. She is also on that top structure. So the women are represented, but I want to say it again. In the Freedom Front Plus, we believe in merit, and I can assure you that those women, they obtained those positions on merit, not because they are women. So they competed with everyone, and I'm very proud of them.
Oh, absolutely. But in the South African landscape, where we have so many parties and very few led by women, it would be good to see parties having lots more contestation of women for those top positions, for the party leader. And so that's why I raised it in the way that I did. I did want to just raise one more issue that your party has put on the table in the last few months, related to the touchy and topical issue of land and land expropriation without compensation. Given that you are now in the GNU government, you had an historic opposition to the expropriation bill, and now that it has been passed, you have voiced that opposition once again. Is this not a contradiction in terms of being in the GNU, but still as a party deciding to oppose expropriation bill?
No, it's not a contradiction. We must remember this is a government of national unity. You have different political parties. There are 10 different political parties, and it happens all over the world. That the moment you have a form of coalition, whether it's 2 parties, 3 parties, it depends on the number of parties, then you have different views. And we must remember that the Expropriation Act was and went through Parliament even before last year's election. The Freedom Front Plus strongly objected to that. So it is a act that has been through the process with our objection even before the time. We said that we think it is unconstitutional and that we won't go to the Constitutional Court. In fact, I also requested the President already from last year, please send the bill to the Constitutional Court so that we can be sure about the constitutionality of the bill. At that stage it was still a bill. He didn't do that, so he signed the bill into an act. So yes, we are going to the Constitutional Court. It's our right. If you look at the agreement between the different political parties, we said that we do accept the Constitution of South Africa. And I said, the glue that can keep the GNU together is to ensure that, specifically when it comes to legislation, that it is constitutional. So we are going to the Constitutional Court. We object strongly against any expropriation without compensation. but it's not a contradictory.
I mean, is this really about constitutionality, though, Dr. Groenewald? Or is this about the FF Plus political opposition to this bill and this political battle around the question of land? What is the real constitutional claim that you're going to be taking to the Constitutional Court, especially because this bill isn't, even by many of the people who support it, isn't one of the most radical bills in terms of let's just go and grab land? What's the constitutional challenge here, or is this about stating your political position as strongly as possible at the highest court in the land?
Well, the principle is the principle of expropriation without compensation. We must remember that all over the world you get countries with expropriation acts. We had one in South Africa, the 75 one that has been replaced now. So the principle and the focus from the side of the Freedom Front Plus is the principle of expropriation of land without compensation. And let me put it very clearly. The Freedom Front Plus, myself, are on record not once but many times in public stating that land reform can take place in South Africa. We're not against a land reform, but the way it is done is totally unacceptable, and expropriation without compensation is one of those reasons to say it is totally unacceptable. There's enough land in South Africa. So, and make no mistake, if you go and look at the annual reports of the Department of Land Affairs, their own annual report stated, for instance, if you look at restitution claims, about 80,000 of them, referring back to the 1913 Land Act, there were 80,000. 94% of those people didn't want the land; they wanted the compensation.
Right.
If you look at land redistribution,
Minister,
80% of those projects failed. So there's enough land. It's
Right.
not that there is not enough land.
So, Minister, sorry, I'm going to have to end this, but I think we are going to follow up on the story as it goes to the Constitutional Court. We've just reached the top of the hour for the 7 a.m. news, and so we'll be taking the 7 a.m. news now. Thank you so much. That was Peter Groenewald, the now almost former leader of the FF Plus and the Minister of Correctional Services. Now time for the news.
Power News.
Thank you, Tessa. Top stories at this hour. The Supreme Court is set to hear the NP's appeal in the Gupta-linked 24 million rand fraud case, and an update on the KZN flood disaster as Minister Smelani is set to lead relief efforts.
And in your sports coming up at the bottom of the hour, Chiefs looking for redemption against Magesi tonight. Verstappen in the running for the Laureate Sportsman of the Year award, and it is India and Australia in the ICC Champions Trophy first semi-final. Let's get together for details of this and more at the bottom of the hour in your full bulletin.
With the Power News at 7, a very good morning. I'm Tlantla Sivume. The National Prosecutions Authority has condemned the acquittal of 8 accused in the Nulani fraud and money laundering case, calling it a grave miscarriage of justice. The Supreme Court of Appeal will hear the NP's appeal on Friday as prosecutors seek a retrial. At the heart of this case is the 24.9 million rand payment from the Free State government to the Gupta-linked Nulani investment for a fraudulently feasibility study which was subcontracted to Deloitte for just 1.5 million. The study's findings were then allegedly manipulated to benefit the Gupta-linked Paris Dairy. Power News' Zwelibanzi Mazibugo has more on the story.
The NPA argues that acting Free State High Court Judge Nompumelelo Gusha made serious legal errors, including the wrongful rejection of key documents and witness testimony. The appeal states that had these mistakes not occurred, the accused, which include Gupta associates and Free State government officials, would have had to defend themselves with a strong chance of conviction. The case is one of 2 failed attempts to extradite Abdul and Rajesh Gupta from the UAE. The second case, involving the 288 million rand Freda Diary project, was struck from the roll last year. In her ruling, Judge Gusha had criticized the state's investigation as a comedy of errors. However, the NPA insists that the evidence, including witness testimony and banking records, was sufficient to warrant a trial. The appeal hearing at the Supreme Court of Appeal on Friday could determine whether the case gets a second chance in court. Zwelibanzi Mazibugo, Power News.
The Human Settlements Minister Thembi Smelani is set to visit KwaZulu-Natal today following severe floods caused by heavy rains in that province. The extreme weather has left a trail of destruction, damaging properties, roads and other infrastructure. Authorities have also confirmed fatalities, while mop-up operations continue as officials assess the full extent of this damage. Many communities remain in distress, and the government is working to provide aid and relief to the affected residents of KZN. The Provincial Human Settlements spokesperson, Ndabezi Tasbia, says efforts are underway to assist those who have been impacted.
We are doing everything in our powers to provide a decent accommodation to the affected families. There are families, more than 21 families, that have been moved to a hotel, and there are many more other families that are in different accommodations in various parts of Etewi. But that is not enough. That is why we are looking at building permanent houses. Here at the back, we received all the necessary approvals so that we are able to build permanent houses for these affected families.
A brief correction there, that was a spokesperson for the department, Ndabezi Tasbia. Moving to this, President Cyril Ramaphosa will host Mozambican President Daniel Chapo today at the president's official residence in Cape Town. Chapo recently secured victory in Mozambique's elections despite opposition leader Venancio Mondlane disputing the results. The country's constitutional council later confirmed Frelimo's win following political challenges in that country. Now the visit aims to strengthen cooperation between South Africa and Mozambique across bilateral, regional, continental and global level. Ramaphosa emphasizes the importance of unity as well as collaboration, stating that the discussions will focus on enhancing ties between the two countries.
We're watching very closely what is happening in Mozambique, and obviously Mozambique is such a close neighbor to us, a very good trading partner, member of SADC, and as SADC members we are prepared, willing and able to give them as much support as we possibly can to be able to navigate their way out of the challenges that they face, and they have our full support in every way possible.
Further afield, the U.S. has paused military aid to Ukraine. A White House official has confirmed this on Monday, days after President Donald Trump clashed with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. Trump reportedly ordered Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth to implement this pause. The decision comes just hours after Trump denied discussing a suspension of aid, but suggesting that Zelensky should be more appreciative of U.S. support. Nearly 3 years into the war, Washington has committed billions in aid to Ukraine.
I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
The rand's at 18 rand 63 cents to the US dollar, 23 rand 66 against the pound, and 19 rand 53 cents to the euro. Gold's at $2,891.92 per fine ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $71.13 per barrel. Another cloudy start for Gauteng this morning with some rain. Johannesburg will peak at 27 degrees Celsius, Tshwane 28, while Vereeniging will also reach highs of 27 degrees Celsius. Recapping the top story in Power News at this hour, the NPA condemns the acquittal of 8 accused in the Mulani fraud and money laundering case, calling it a grave miscarriage of justice.
In power traffic, we start off in Centurion. If you are traveling on Hendrik Vervoet Drive eastbound, you can expect delays as you're headed towards the Jacaranda Street intersection. Willem Botha Street eastbound is very slow as well. That's as you are from Frederick Street heading towards adjoining Hendrik Vervoet. Escort and Lenchen Avenue eastbound are heavily backed up at the moment. You can expect that pressure as you're headed towards the Sycamore Street intersection. On the N1 southbound, traffic is backed up as usual between John Foster and the New Road off-ramp. And lastly, if you are traveling on the Mabopane Highway inbound, that's in the city of Tshwane, and there's queuing traffic as usual between the R513 and Eskiam Patlele Drive.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
Power Breakfast is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
And now, you're listening to Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
The time is 7:11. Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms. Time to up the ante in the second hour. So we have a few big stories coming up. We're going to be looking at the water crisis in the city of Johannesburg. So if, like me, you didn't wake up with water this morning, time to learn about why. We're going to be taking a story around the Hawks investigating the disinformation that has been coming out of the U.S. and some treason dockets that have been opened about that, particularly one from the MK party. And then we're going to be talking about a new play. We're going to talk about the arts around Winnie Mandela and other women of the struggle and how they lost their husbands through the apartheid struggle and their role and contribution. We're going to have a special guest for that that I will talk about a little bit later. But we want to start off the top of today with a conversation about, how we're going to deal with this water crisis. We haven't taken calls yet this morning, though. And so I wanted us to just get a few voice notes in and start hearing your voices as well before we take our first top of the morning talk.
Good morning, everyone. Tess, you are so spot on about politicians not being probed, like in the case of Zwingli Mkhize. Many forefront staff lost their jobs during the Digital Vibes saga. I saw him on TV yesterday.
Good morning Tessa and Baby K and Nico, Lenza. Welcome once more to the Power FM, and it's so nice to listening to you guys. So for me, for Miriam, I think Hapo Zamani, yeah, that's my best song. I would like to hear that.
So we're going to be taking a call as well this morning. Our first caller of the day. We have Kabelo from Garangua who's joining us. First caller of the day, welcome Kabelo.
Morning, Tess, how are you?
No, I'm top.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. You want to talk to us about the land and the law, responding to the good minister over there?
Yes. You know, I'm a bit puzzled because of the approach of the minister is a bit territorial to the minority-orientated agenda that he's pursuing, because you ask him a pertinent question as to your organization doesn't speak much of your human development, so he just navigates around it and subject it to employment issue. But in the sense where you are coming in, you are saying, how is your organization championing the interest of human development and as well as youth development? It doesn't speak much. I guess maybe in the white societies, they don't face the challenges that we face as within the black society, where youth development becomes a cornerstone of young people having to be. It seems like the white privilege opportunities still prevail, so they don't face much of the social challenges and social ills that we face within. But also another issue that I wanted to come in on, he spoke boldly as if like they are the custodian of ideological thinking within the GNU. The DA and their party, they don't possess any threat to the GNU. They can go out of the GNU. MK is there, EFF is there, they'll plug in and we'll take this government forward. We are not intimidated by their white ideological thinking. Thanks, Tessa.
I mean, I think for me what was interesting, and I got a little carried away with that, because why are you going to the court when you're sitting in the room? If you can't fight the battle and win the political battle in the room, why are you going to the court? What is the purpose of being in the room of government if you need to still go to the courts? But I hear you. I think they may not be as powerful as they imagined that they would be. Thank you so much, Kabelo.
Thank you.
All the action packed in 180 minutes. Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
So I've been threatening about talking about water issues because I'm very, very passionate about them in the city of Johannesburg. And in the last few years, we have seen a real decline in water services in the city of Johannesburg. You have, just general poor service delivery, but in places like Coronationville, for the last 5 years, people have had insufficient access to water and sanitation. In many of the parts of Joburg South, we have seen that Puntland Klashe, for example, has not had water and has had major protests around water. And so I think it is time that we focus in on this issue and understand it a little bit better. So we have two guests with us this morning who are going to be talking about this issue. First, we have Dr. Farrell Adam, who is the executive manager of Water Can Initiative, the organization for undoing tax abuse. OUTA has this initiative around Water Can. And so I want to start with you, Dr. Adam, and just give us a bit of a sense of what is the actual state of water, not only in the city of Johannesburg, but you've also been able to look at it from a national level downwards. Why are we sitting in the situation we are right now?
Good morning, Tessa, and good morning to all your listeners. Thank you for having me on your show. I think the challenges we've been facing is not it's been coming. It's about 10 years in the making. And we know that it has roots in, the previous Minister Makonyane at DWS that put a whole lot of stop on projects, etc. And from that, it kind of filtered through into local government, where at local government, they were not spending enough money or budget on infrastructure. So Treasury advises that, you need to spend at least between 6 and 8% on maintenance every year of the cost of the infrastructure, but that hasn't happened. So what we've seen now is 10 years of neglect, and so we've got pipes that are bursting or leaking, we've got wastewater treatment works that are not working properly, and reservoirs that are leaking, and it's across the country. So if you look at government's blue drop, green drop, no drops report, it tells you that our infrastructure is failing. So the wastewater treatment works, at least 60% of them are not working well. So what you get, what that means is that sewage is then flowing into our rivers. And if you get sewage, there's other waste with it, right? It's not just sewage.
Right.
And then it says that almost half of our drinking water systems in the country is not fit for drinking. That means it does not meet the standard of having clean drinking water. So there could either be too many chemicals in it or bacteria or, whatever the reason, but it's not fit for consumption. And that's almost half in the country. And then, of course, as you know, which I think if you're in Joburg, the number of leaks, I think we lose about 40%. Well, that is Joburg, but in the country we lose 47.4% of our water to leaks, non-billable water, and theft. So half of our water that we're paying for, that is clean, and paying for it, is already lost the minute it leaves the system.
Wow, that is a really big number in terms of the leaks, because we are often told that there's a water scarcity issue, and I know that particularly the mayor of Joburg has gone on a campaign, the city has gone on a campaign to ask people to conserve water, and so the message that people might get from that is that we have water scarcity. But what you're saying to us is that we're losing through the bad infrastructure in leaks about 40%, almost 50% nationally of our water, and then we have the problem of unsafe drinking water. I think that is a real crisis. But there doesn't seem that there's been alarm from the state. We haven't heard people speak with enough alarm about this. The Premier, the Sufi, has mentioned issues around water, but again, it's just kind of saying we're working on it. This is not a crisis. We've heard the minister as well, and we're going to be speaking to the Department of Water and Sanitation. But do you think that there's urgency around this?
So I think at different levels there's some level of urgency, right? I think that for about 10 years, yes, our Department of Water and Sanitation was absent. But I think when we had the previous minister, Funu, and his new leadership, there was a change. There was action. There was a move to make a difference. And I think that the National Department has set up something called the, sorry, I need to get this right, it's the Gauteng Platform for Water Security. And I think the focus there is looking at the leaks in Gauteng, the non-billable water in Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, and City of Joburg.
Sure.
So at that level, I feel like there's starting to be that focus.
Right.
But I think that when we come to if you're looking at provincial level and municipal level, if you just look at the AG's report in terms of the state of our municipalities, and it's no wonder then why they have completely, ignored water, because they're in such a bad state. And so that becomes the challenge, is how do we make sure? And that's where I think your question comes in, is how then can national government play a better role to ensure that municipalities actually do what they need to do?
Well, luckily we have national government on the line, represented by the Director General of the Department of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Sean Phillips. Thank you so much, Dr. Phillips, for joining us and participating in this conversation to give us a sense of, is there an urgency within government to actually get this water crisis resolved and moving forward?
Good morning, Tessa. Good morning, Ferreira, and good morning to all your listeners. Yes, there definitely is. If you listen to the President's State of the Nation address, it's clear that water is now the number one priority for the government, now that load shedding is largely being resolved. So there's very much a state of urgency. And I can tell you about various things that have been done, if you like, now with regard to reforms. So to address the issue that Periel raised, the national government is implementing a range of reforms of municipal water and sanitation services. So part of the problem, as has been discussed, is that there's high levels of non-revenue water, which includes leaks, but also people not being billed for water. That means that municipalities don't have enough money to maintain their water and sanitation infrastructure because they're not getting enough revenue from the sale of water. But also, currently, there's no legal requirement for municipalities to use that revenue from the sale of water for the water function. Councils can vote for it to be used for other purposes. So we're in the process of implementing reforms in Gauteng and elsewhere in the country, which is going to result in ring fencing of that revenue from the sale of water, and also ring fencing of all the management functions so that we can hold the head of Joburg Water, for example, accountable. The head of Joburg Water will get all the revenue from the sale of water. He'll have complete control over supply chain and logistics and HR function, and we can then hold him accountable for the performance of the water sanitation system in Johannesburg.
I mean, to make your point, Dr. Philip, for the Joburg Water segment, we've heard that the city will be collecting up to 12 billion last year from water, so from people paying for water services, notwithstanding that there might be people who are not paying. But then Joburg Water says to us they only have 1 billion. So you're saying that the kind of reforms you're going to be putting in place will legally obligate the city to give Joburg Water, for example, the full that full ring-fenced amount that was collected from water, so that they can use it for that infrastructure, and that's what what you're implementing. Yes.
Yes, that's correct. Perhaps not the full amount, but the vast majority of it. The city might need to take some of it because, for example, they might retain a centralized billing system. Might make sense to still only issue one bills, and they'll have to cover the cost for that. But the principle is that money from the sale of water must go to the water function. Water has to be self-financing. Water can't be financed from other taxes like that. It must be financed from the sale of water. If we had to try and make water financed from other governments, from the fiscus and from taxation, then the government would have to raise that even more than currently that's being talked about. So that's not feasible. We have to make the system work where water is financially self-sustaining.
So just to touch on the leaks issue, because we are running out of time, because once you have the water money ring-fenced, what makes it mandatory for that to be spent? We saw that the city of Joburg sent back to Treasury about 1.2 billion rand last year in infrastructure spend. How do you then make sure that there's actual implementation so these 47% of leaks actually get fixed?
Okay, firstly, just a correction. As Ferreira said, the 47% is non-revenue water, which includes leaks and water not being billed for.
Okay.
The leaks in Joburg is 25%. The international average for leaks is 15%. It's imperative that Joburg gets down from 25% to 15%. If that can happen, then we would have much less water supply disruptions in Joburg than we currently have. But going back to your question, at the moment, the head of Joburg Water doesn't have control over supply chain and procurement. He doesn't have control over who he recruits. He doesn't have control over his logistics, hiring trucks, etc., because it's all centralized in the city administration. So with these reforms and the ring fencing of the function, we can then hold the head of Joburg Water accountable and say, why didn't you spend your money? And the head of Joburg Water won't be able to have any excuses that he's not that it's supply chain in the city, for example. And then we can have proper accountability. We can have the right incentives for the right things to be done.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Dr. Phillips, the Director General of the Department of Water and Sanitation, and we had the Executive Manager of Water Cannon Initiative of OUTA, Dr. Cyril Adam, just giving us some of the facts and figures around the water crisis. We are now going to take out traffic and then come back for market update.
Power traffic.
Thanks, Tessa. A very good morning to you. In the city of Tshwane, if you're traveling on Sefako Makgato Drive eastbound, a heavy congestion can be expected approaching the N1. If you are traveling out of Queenswood and Gordon Road southbound, traffic is backed up with delays just under 15 minutes from Wesley heading towards the Pretoria Street intersection. You can also expect some queuing traffic as you are traveling on Linwood Road, that's in Hatfield. Those delays can be expected that are in both directions approaching the Roper Street intersection. Ephias Road eastbound is slow in Fountains approaching the N14. You can also expect some congestion as you're traveling on Roger Dyson Road eastbound approaching the Portreka Road intersection. Major routes in Centurion are heavy this morning. I do expect delays on Reimte, Vieira, Lenchen Avenue, Escort, as well as Hendrik Vervoet Drive. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm Leham Putela.
Power traffic.
The silence of a till that hasn't rung in a while is deafening to any business owner. That's why Telkom Business wants to unleash the hero in you with a Business Fusion deal. Get a versatile tablet, LTE 120 gigs anytime data, 120 gigs night surfer data, Smart Voice Basic, plus a professional website for only 699 Rand per month. And make the till ring again. Call 10213, click telkom.co.za or go to any Telkom shop. T&C apply. Telkom. Possible begins here.
This market update is proudly brought to you by DSO Consulting Group. Truth, trust, results. Power markets.
So a quick market update this morning with Mohammed Wagli, Portfolio Manager at Sasfin. Mohammed, there's a story about the JSE having raised some dividends. Is this in any way linked to the call that they made a few weeks ago for people to come and collect on those dividends?
Quite interesting. First of all, good morning to yourself, Tessa, and to all the Power FM viewers out there. Yeah, so quite interesting news from the JSE. I'm not necessarily sure it was linked to what you sort of just described earlier, but what we are seeing, and I can let you know that the JSE is actually seeing really strong growth pretty much across the board in all of their asset classes. Positive market sentiment has helped them, but they also pointed towards some cost-cutting measures that have been benefiting them. In my mind, what I found to be sort of the most encouraging thing was that they actually noted that there were 22 new companies that had listed on the JSE in 2024, and you compare that to 12 companies delisting, we've still got about, a net of 10 new companies there on the JSE, which is great to see. I think the big concern is that everybody's worried about the size of the local market becoming smaller and smaller. And, if you look at sort of the trends over the long term, that is what we're seeing. But great to see that in 2024 they are bucking that trend somewhat slightly. But then just to mention on that dividend, there was about a 5.8% increase in dividends payable to shareholders for the year. I think the market really liked that. The share was up about 2% on the day.
Does a strong JSE rallying mean that we have stronger indicators on the Rand?
Well, somewhat to an extent. Weirdly enough, we actually saw the Rand falling slightly on the day. We're actually at about 18 Rand 54 cents on the dollar. But really what's happening is we're seeing quite a bit of positive sentiment on the day, positive market sentiment on the day. So the all share is up about 2%, and often enough when that's happening, sort of funds are flowing towards equity. So I wouldn't necessarily read too much into the rand softness over there. I would say broadly speaking, we had a phenomenal day on the JSE yesterday.
Thank you so much. We're going to have to wrap it up there because we are running late on the news. But we're going to take the news up now with Nhlanhla Sume.
This market update was proudly brought to you by Ndiso Consulting Group. Truth, trust, results.
The Ndiso Consulting Group is an authentically African and globally wide management consulting firm which unlocks development by empowering institutions that enable Africa's development. We improve the performance of towns and cities, private and public organizations, as well as local and regional economies. Our solutions to complex management problems are end-to-end and evidence-based. Visit ndisoconsulting.co.za for more info. Ndiso Consulting Group. Truth, trust, results.
Thanks, Tessa. And stories making headlines. The chairperson for the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance, that's Dr. Zweli Mkhize, he's raised concerns that a potential VAT increase could disproportionately impact South Africa's most vulnerable. His comments come amid ongoing uncertainty regarding the proposed VAT hike, with no official confirmation on whether it will be included in the upcoming national budget next week. The budget, which was delayed, is now set to be announced on the 12th of March. Speaking during a briefing yesterday, Mkhize, alongside other government's cluster committee chairpersons, emphasized the need to consider the economic burden of low-income households. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is expected to table the national budget next week, potentially providing clarity on the matter. Mkhize had this to say.
Part of what we had committed to do, and I'm talking from the point of view of our party manifesto, is to look at how we can actually increase items that would be either zero rated or VAT exempted as a way of shielding the poor, so that some of the simple food that is nutritious, that is available to the poor communities are affordable, so that you actually use VAT zero rating or VAT exemption to deal with those. So I would actually believe that any increase in VAT would really be very detrimental to the poor.
Let's move to this developing story now. The Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements is urging national departments alongside its stakeholders to expedite the unlocking of the Emergency Housing Response Fund, this being done to assist those affected by the ongoing floods in KwaZulu-Natal. It comes in the wake of the recent floods that have claimed more than 20 lives in the last 2 months. During an oversight visit in October, the committee expressed concerns about delays in accessing the fund for flood victims, also stressing that these delays should be removed to ensure swift assistance to those in need. I'll have more details on this and other Power News stories at 8.
In power traffic, if you are traveling on the N1 southbound in Centurion, do expect delays from John Foster Drive heading towards the New Road exit. If you are traveling on Main Road, that's as you're headed towards Irene, there's some queuing traffic to expect as you're traveling past the Doornkloof heading towards the Napiers Drive intersection. I'm also seeing a lot of pressure on Napiers Drive westbound as you're passing Cornwall Hill headed towards the Main Road intersection. If you are in Midrand and traveling on Olifantsfontein Road, traffic is backed up. That's in both directions approaching the N1 highway interchange.
The weather today, Johannesburg starts off at 17 with a high of 27, Vereeniging 17 and a high of 27 as well, Soweto 17 with a high of 28, Kempton Park 17 ending the day on 28, Pretoria 18 with a high of 28, Centurion 17, a high of 28 as well, and finally Randfontein starting at 15 ending the high on 26.
Power Sports.
So what's happening with Kaizer Chiefs today?
I'll have you know, Tess, that Kaizer Chiefs defender Rick Frostler says that the upcoming match against Magesi FC tonight presents the club with the opportunity to redeem themselves following their 1-0 loss to Mamelodi Sundowns. I see that you are looking forward to that one.
Absolutely.
I'm organizing tickets for you. Amaokosi will host Magesi at the FNB Stadium in their Betway Premiership clash, and coach Nadazin Nabi will be without striker Tashwick Morris, who is sidelined by injury, and midfielders Thabo Cele as well as Gaston Serino are suspended. Frosler says tonight's clash provides Amakosi with an opportunity for redemption, and this is ahead, of course, of their Nedbank Cup quarter-final this Saturday.
Obviously, the game on the weekend against Sundowns was a difficult loss to take. I don't think we played badly. The guys did well. We stuck together. We stuck to what we wanted to do. And on the day, it's unfortunate that we didn't capitalize on our chances that we got, and they scored their chances, and that was the difference on the day. I think going to midweek, we got Magesi. It'll be an interesting game. Once again, a game for us to try and get ourselves back up after the weekend's game. And just got to switch focus now to the next game, and then take it from there. Got to go back to the board, throwing board rather, and see what we're going to do and how we can capitalize and how we can beat Magesi.
I tell you for free that if they don't capitalize on their chances, Magesi may just well Tema Isbani at FNB Stadium. The other Betway Premiership match will see Gallants Marumo playing against the Stellenbosch at the Dr. Petrus Malamela Stadium. The both games kicking off at 7:30. Sundowns have added Leo Motiba to their strike force, and the Lenke striker who spent a decade playing in France has signed a deal until the end of the season, and that Sundowns lineup is looking very frightening right now, with Reyners as well as Ikram Reyners and Ushalulile Shah. And Mangoba Mnoiti has rejoined Lamontville Golden Arrows, and his first task will be to go toe-to-toe with his former club, Mamelodi Sundowns, who fired him in December. And in East Africa, Kenya, we'll have Coach Benny McCarthy in the area, who will have a tall order in trying to get Kenya to the 2026 FIFA World Cup. McCarthy's team include goalkeeper coach Monique Joseph Uslemkat, as well as assistant coach Vasily Manosakis and performance analyst Pilela Maposa completing his technical team. And after 4 qualifying matches, the RMB Stars are fourth in Group F with 5 points from 1 win and 2 draws, and one of those draws came against group leaders and African champions, the Elephants of Ivory Coast. The Gambia and Gabon will provide the first test for Benny McCarthy this month. And motorsports, Max Verstappen and McLaren have been recognized for their Formula One successes in 2024 with nominations at this year's upcoming Glorious World Sports Awards. Verstappen, who retained his Drivers' Championship for the 4th consecutive season, is in the running for the Sportsman of the Year, and the Dutchman reclaimed the crown in Las Vegas after a season in which his Red Bull team were, for the majority, unable to be the fastest car. Verstappen will be hopeful of winning the award for the second time, having first claimed it in 2022, and the Dutchman became the 4th F1 driver to have been a winner of the award, joining Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, as well as Sir Lewis Hamilton. Finally, on cricket, Proteas Henry Klassen states that they have fewer nerves ahead of the ICC Champions semi-final match due to their expensive experience in reaching this stage. South Africa is set to face New Zealand. This will be tomorrow in a highly anticipated ICC Champions Trophy semi-final at the Gaddafi Stadium, with the goal of advancing to the final. Klassen has dismissed the notion that they are experiencing pre-match nerves ahead of their encounter with New Zealand.
Yeah, I think the nerves is a little bit less because we have a little bit more experience in the semi-final department now. So we're playing good cricket, and since I've been around from 2018, let's say just before COVID, we played some incredible cricket, and even the team before I was involved played incredible cricket in ICC events. We just had some bad luck here and there, and obviously 1 or 2 games didn't go away, but we've been playing good cricket, and I think that's just the rewards that we've been feeding now, and the boys are holding a little bit more composure in the bigger moments in the game. So hopefully we can get into another final. We've got the experience now, and the big boys need to step up in Tuesday or Wednesday.
And while you wait for tomorrow's match, today you can catch the action between India and Australia, and this is going to be the first semi-final. And for Power Sports, just call me PBK.
Power Sport.
Hi everyone, I'm Dean McPherson, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
In the State of the Nation reply, I announced that we're releasing 31 state-owned properties for redevelopment that will generate 10 billion rand in investment and create 165,000 new jobs. These public-private partnerships will help us realize our dream to turn South Africa into a construction site. To achieve this, the department in 2025 will be leveraging reforms in infrastructure development through Infrastructure South Africa, release requests for proposals to redevelop our small harbours, which will create tens of thousands of new jobs, as well as reforming the expanded public works program to ensure it becomes a genuine stepping stone to permanent employment. We are accelerating efforts to get more cranes in the sky and more shovels in the ground. Our department is working for you and with you to build a better South Africa for the future.
There's a new brand in the Hatfield Motor Group. MG has arrived in South Africa, and Hatfield has dealers in Rivonia, Midrand and Hatfield. Come test drive the all-new MG lineup, introducing the stylish ZS and HS SUVs and the all-electric unbeatable value and great deals at MG Rivonia, MG Midrand and MG Hatfield. HatfieldGroup.co.za. Rated #1 in service.
Call Power Breakfast on 0861 987 000.
So we have a caller on the line. Sarah from Sandton, you want to address the water crisis?
Yes, we're going to address the water crisis. You know, I like what I think it was the deputy...
The Director General, yeah.
Yes, the Director General was saying. He was saying the funding model will be changed, legislation and all that for the council to ring-fence the money for water in Johannesburg, or well, everywhere else, but for Johannesburg it means that Johannesburg water will have their own budget, which will be much higher than it is now.
Yes.
However, it makes us wonder, who's going to then fence everything else? Because who's going to fund everything else? If you look at our roads in Johannesburg, they are a mess, and there is no way for JRA to collect revenue. So who's going to fund the roads? Who's going to fund the social things that Johannesburg is doing? Who's going to fund the social stuff, the parks? Right. They're going to fund that if all the money or part of the money goes to Johannesburg water. I think we'll have another crisis. We can deal with the water crisis now, but after this thing is done, we'll have another crisis. They're just pushing the can down the road.
No, so Sarah, I think you're spot on with that. There is a definite just basic issue with municipal funding, right? Because municipal funding is highly dependent on the ratepayers funding municipal services ourselves. And so like you were saying, it's a paid for service. So what we were talking about there was that the water money that's being collected from those of us when we're paying water, our water bill, that money particularly must be ring-fenced. And so the other money has to come from our rates and our taxes and the other things that we are paying for. And I think the two things that you're raising here, one is that we assume that everybody pays or everybody can pay. And so when you have people and communities that can't pay, you're going to have lower revenue anyway and less money to spend. But the other money that, that's not being collected well, that's not coming through the system, that's not being used, that's where some of the crisis also lies. Because, I mean, even the grant that the city of Joburg is getting for infrastructure, for example, from government, last year it was said that they sent back 1.2 billion in that grant. So I do think that there is a crisis around it in terms of whether we have the money to pay, whether the money is being collected. But I think with the water itself, I'm not as concerned about that one, because I think that if there's 12 billion already being collected, at least use the money collected for water. And then we have to then figure out the rest of it. But I definitely get that concern that we may not even have the resources to fund everything that needs to be done. Thank you for that call, Sarah.
Power traffic.
Thanks, Tessa. Very good morning. Let's check out what's happening in Johannesburg North. If you're traveling on Witkoppen, there's queuing traffic in both directions as you're approaching at the Market Street intersection. Delays eastbound can be expected from Malibongwe Drive approaching Douglas Drive. If you're traveling on Winnie Mandela Drive southbound, traffic is backed up in Hurlingham as you're traveling past the Ballyclare in Bryanston. Those delays are headed towards the Sandton Drive intersection. If you're on Tana Road eastbound in Emerentia, you can also expect that usual pressure. Delays are coming from Beas Nordia Drive, but they're at just under 20 minutes at the moment from Hofmeyer joining Tana, heading towards Parkhurst. You can also expect delays on Glen Eagles and Chester Road eastbound. Queuing traffic can be expected as you're traveling on Beas Nordia Drive as well as you're headed towards Auckland Park. Those delays are clear just after you pass Thomas Bowler Street. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm the Pumpkin.
Power Traffic.
Power Breakfast. Trends.
Rearrange your whole game with a breaker sound. Hey, come around. Yeah. What's happening? I'm back. Yeah. Who else would have expected me to be back? But now I'm back. Because I thought they were going to kidnap me here in Cape Town. I wouldn't mind being kidnapped in Clifton. Just be living in one of those houses as a hostage.
I wouldn't trust the people of Clifton with you, Chief. I don't want to lie to you. I'm not sure they would like your card.
Sad reminder for you, you're back in the concrete jungle.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
no
back in the
ocean.
concrete jungle here in Johannesburg. But it's so good to be back. It's so good to be with you guys. But a lot has been trending. You guys did an incredible job yesterday with Power 98.7 trending the whole day with a lot of positive responses.
No way!
Yeah, to the newly refreshed lineup. You guys in the morning at Dr. Mbuisen Ndlozi, he was trending throughout
Wasn't
the
that
day.
legend session so magical, guys?
Yeah, that was incredible, man. Bratuso Mutaung, Mam Shadow Twala, as well as Bralinda Sbia. They're just, powerhouses when it comes to radio. But also, Julius Malema also had his birthday yesterday, and people were just sending him well wishes. And I saw someone ask which moment actually made you a Julius Malema fan. Like, which is that one moment that made you a Julius Malema fan?
You know, I will say that it is actually that last big iconic moment. I was at the stadium when that stage raise happened.
Yeah.
And I was in one of the studios, I think, one of the TV studios. And I remember jumping up and down at that stage. I was like, legend. You will never be forgotten, my man. Like, I love Julius for many different reasons, but that moment I'll never forget.
Yeah, me, I was a fan when he said that, hey, here, this is a revolutionary house.
Who can forget that moment?
That's the moment where I was like, this is the guy. Rubbish is what you have hidden under those pants.
Yeah, that comment about rubbish.
Never forget.
But every forum has been trending, guys. Do you know that feeling of spending that whole weekend at a friend's home and you know that there's trouble waiting for you at home when you get back home, right? That's the feeling that every forum and Solidarity leaders are actually feeling right now. After they visit to the White House, they were having fun, they were taking pictures there, but they didn't realize that from the White House, they might just come back to a jailhouse in South Africa. After the Hawks confirmed that they are investigating about 4 cases of high treason against the senior members of AfriForum for spreading misinformation about the country that has definitely led to tensions between us and the U.S. You know what I mean? Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, we're about to cover that story because it's the last, that thing.
Yeah, but people are asking why didn't they didn't just stay in the United States while they were there and just prepare for some of their members that will be coming through as well. Maybe start lobbying for Afrikaans schools only in Wisconsin.
Because being a refugee is not cute, guys. It's not cute. They realized maybe it is nicer to be here and be free and be seen as a full citizen, something that has not always been allotted to all of the people in this country, than to go and be a refugee in somebody else's country.
They can just lobby there for Afrikaans only schools, Afrikaans only universities, that side. But I don't think that's going to fly. But because clearly the Hawks are waiting for them and the GTI is waiting for them here in South Africa. And you know that's the only time that no one wants to ever be in a GTI. It's in the Hawks one. Yeah, because high treason, guys, is a serious charge. So they better start prepping.
It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. So it is belangrik for me. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Exactly. You gotta prepare. You are at the Rivonia Circle. Was it the circle, not the trial?
Not the trial, Chief. The circle, not the trial.
They don't want to go to the States. Because they say they're going to lose their language. He says, I do not imagine a day where you wake up and your grandchild cannot say Huye Moreba.
Yo, man.
You know, and when you think about the irony of that, when they're fighting against the Bellable, the same organization, where they are happy to have other people give up their language rights in this country or forfeit them or not fight for them. There's so many contradictions here.
Yeah, but Canada is also trending with Mexico, Tessa, as we move right along. Donald Trump is actually having a terrific time at the White House, yeah? With all these tariffs that he's imposing on these other countries. Yeah, he's announced that he's imposing 25% tariffs on his neighbors. That's namely Mexico as well as Canada. And Drake tickets are about to get super, super pricey. And I'm just glad that Kendrick Lamar killed off his career before they imposed those tariffs. But it's actually sad to see that the advice
You really
that Trump...
about to do it?
I just did. But it's actually sad that the advice that Trump is getting might end up playing the U.S. in the long run. You know what I mean? It will go south for them if all those alienated countries just band together and just keep their goods away from the United States market. Because Mexico, for example, exports oil, electrical items, and bad decisions for college kids in the U.S., aka tequila. And Canada also gives them chocolate, gold, cars, but I see all of those, right?
And gives them their accent respectability.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Canada also gives them energy as well, you know? But Trump still decides to act like a monster.
No, I saw I saw a TikToker make a plea there from Wisconsin saying, guys, I just paid my electricity bill, don't take it.
Don't take it right now, but it's going to be a long 4 years. It's actually going to be longer than 4 years because someone else who comes through after this has to come and fix this whole situation because clearly Donald's emotion just trumps logic.
Yeah, definitely. I think his logic is from Temu.
Yeah. But we wrap it up with the Oscars that were happening yesterday. Of course, many of us were rooting for Anele and her team were nominated for their short film, The Last Stranger. Yeah, it's a big
Nomination
feat, that
itself
one.
is a big deal, guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they didn't win, but big ups to them. Big winners are a film called Anora. Actors and actress Adrian Brody, as well as Mikey Medicine. I don't know them.
You said Brody, Chief, and you lost me.
Yeah, no, I don't know them, but I guess that's the metric to win these things. Yeah, the Oscars as well as the Grammys. You don't have to know the music. You just find out on the night that these guys were incredible. But I'm super sad to see that the most deserving win didn't happen. You know, because looking at the past couple of years, we can all agree that
South Africa is a movie. We live in a drama. It's a series. Every day you will be shocked by something new.
We deserve to win that thing every single year. You know what I mean? But Adam Sandler also went on rocking bright casual wear to the Oscars, and I think he killed it. You know what I mean? Pause. Hey, are we allowed to say Oscars and kill in the same sentence?
One moment. That's all it takes. A split second between life and death. You think you're invincible? That your trip will go off without a hitch? Well, the funeral parlor is more than happy to receive you. Is it too late? One wrong move is all it takes to end it all. Whatever you do, don't let your trip end with RIP. The Road Accident Fund, an entity of the Department of Transport. Road Accident Fund. We care.
The G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group technical meeting has kicked off in the Western Cape. From March 3rd to 5th, the global leaders are convening to tackle critical anti-corruption strategies. Discussions will focus on three key areas, focusing on public sector integrity, enhancing asset recovery, and promoting inclusive participation. This meeting marks a step forward in global accountability. This is a message by the Department of Public Service and Administration.
Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
So we already started talking about the story in Trends, but for real, the Hawks are going to start investigating disinformation claims in the U.S. and 4 high treason dockets have been opened against members of AfriForum. To know more about this story and to hear more about it, we have with us Elton Hart, the attorney and lecturer at the University of Johannesburg Law Clinic. Good morning, Elton. Welcome to the show. And tell us, treason charges, is that really where we are?
Good morning, Tessa, and good morning to your listeners. For me, it's like we need to make that distinction because you have treason, which sits in the Riotous Assemblies Act, that 1956 piece of legislation, where the Constitutional Court had a little bit difficulty with some of the crimes that has been created because it was created to suppress people. I would say we would have to look at more of the common law offense of high treason.
Okay.
And that one gives a clear indication to say that when people are busy threatening the stability of the republic, they can be charged with high treason. And I think this is when we talk about the economic stability and also political stability, that this group that alleges that they speak for a certain segment of the South African population, which is incorrect, went out and actually fulfilled what a diplomat or diplomats would do under normal circumstances to mend relationships. So that is to cause political instability and also economic instability, and then eventually threatening the sovereignty of the country, because now they're asking a foreign government to interfere in local matters. And I think if we use the common law, then that would be most probably for us an easier way of charging them, because this act is unacceptable what they did.
So we know that the MK party said that they were going to lay charges of treason. This was before the delegation, the Solidarity and Africa Forum delegation went to the White House last week. Is this a direct result of the MK's actions, or is this about the likes of Flip Base and Kali Kriel and Dirk Herman taking their delegation to the US this weekend?
No, I think that is a culmination of what has happened in the past. So I know you would know about when they also had this thing with the AGOA, where they went out and AGOA was like sort of half shaking in the instance that they also spread misinformation and misleading information saying that there's so many farm murders and stuff like that, not giving the clear picture of what our farm murders is there. Because it's not just people of with lighter complexion that is being killed on farms, it's people of all walks of life. And then we started already there, and now we're just going again to say there's a genocide, and then blaming the government of having 150 odd partial breakdowns, but they forget to tell them that most of these laws were passed when it was still apartheid. So for me, it was a culmination of all these things coming together, and just taking a strong stance to say, listen, now we're not going to stand by this and not do anything, because every time MK does something, Afriforum, Solidarity runs support. So we will also run support and say, let's protect our constitution. And then I thought the other political parties also saw it first to say, listen, let's join in this. And I mean, even the Minister of Sport was saying, listen, that's what you keep Afriforum is wrong, because there's no genocide, there's misinformation. And we could see that the Indian segment of the South African population was saying, what you guys are doing is actually harming our country and the stability of our country.
I mean, you make an important point earlier that Afriforum and Solidarity don't necessarily speak for this entire community of people in terms of Afrikaner people, and we know that Afrikaner people in this country is a contested term, because we're not only talking about white Afrikaner people when we use that term. And I saw a news clip from Dr. Louise van Rijn, who also wrote about that this week. I think we might want to talk to her later in the week. But this does also help us just pinpoint that we are dealing with particular organizations and particular individuals, rather than this blanketing of this as a view by an entire community of people, yeah?
Yes, 100%, because these are my ancestors, your ancestors, most of them spoke Afrikaans. We grew up from and that is our home language that was created. Yeah, Afrikaans it's indigenous to this piece of the continent, nowhere else. So they can't be claiming to be Afrikaners speaking on behalf. Then it means they're speaking about people looking like you and me as well. And I surely don't hold the same views that they have, because this is infringing upon our constitutional democracy that we have. If you feel like something, the Bella Act is incorrect, if you feel like the extra, we've got courts of law, we've got the constitutional court. Why do you run with our things to a foreign country to come and tell us how to run our country? That is now what I see. It's treasonous, and I would go to high treason to say that you want to cause instability, and then they want to use the argument to say, yeah, but this is what the ANC did under apartheid. But under apartheid, people were killed for no reason.
Right.
Nobody's being killed yet. All of us is exposed to crime. You, me, anybody.
Absolutely.
If a criminal gets us, they're going to say, oh, you are from that population group, we're not going to rob you. If they see you've got something valuable, they rob you. They kill you. So they make as if it's like only they are being targeted. Specifically, there's a national agenda to say we're going to kill people of European descent whose light skin who speaks Afrikaans.
Mm-hmm. So this is a clear case, I think, for us of not in my name. So this is Elton Hart, attorney and lecturer at the University of Johannesburg Law Clinic. Thank you. We are now at the top of the hour. It is 8 a.m. time for the news.
Power News.
Thank you, Tessa. Top stories at this hour. Uncertainty over VAT increase as the budget announcement nears, and Gauteng hosts a two-day summit for World Obesity Day.
And Steve Parker not bothered by fixture congestion as he believes his tallies have got enough depth. Only in the Harambee 18 area, Mangoba back to arrows, and definitely no panic for the Proteas as they prepare for their semi-final clash against New Zealand tomorrow. These and more when we do your full bulletin of Power Sports at the bottom of the hour.
With the Power News at 8, good morning. I'm Tlantla Sihume. The chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance, that's Dr. Zweli Mkhize, he's raised concerns that a potential VAT increase could disproportionately impact South Africa's most vulnerable. His comments come amid ongoing uncertainty regarding the proposed VAT hike, with no official confirmation on whether it will be included in the upcoming national budget. The budget, which was delayed, is now set to be announced on the 12th of March. Speaking during a briefing yesterday, Mkhize, alongside other government's cluster committee chairpersons, emphasized the need to consider the economic burden on low-income households. Now, the Finance Minister, Iyoko Dongwana, is expected to table the national budget next week, potentially providing clarity on this matter. Mkhize had this to say.
Part of what we had committed to do, and I'm talking from a point of view of our party manifesto, is to look at how we can actually increase items that would be either zero rated or VAT exempted as a way of shielding the poor, so that some of the simple food that is nutritious, that is available to the poor communities are affordable, so that you actually use VAT zero rating or VAT exemption to deal with those. So I would actually believe that any increase in VAT would really be very detrimental to the poor.
The Gauteng Department of Health, in partnership with the City of Johannesburg and other stakeholders, will host a two-day summit in observance of World Obesity Day with the theme Changing Systems, Healthier Lives, close quote. The summit, which begins today, will be opened by the province's MEC for Health, Namantunko Moralihuku. According to the World Health Organization, approximately 39 million children under 5 years old were classified as overweight or obese in 2020. Here's a Gauteng Health spokesperson, Mutalatale Mudiba.
The summit aims to explore evidence-based strategies to combat childhood obesity, improve patient care, and foster collaboration among healthcare professionals, policymakers, and community leaders. In South Africa, approximately 13% of children aged 6 to 14 are affected, which highlights the urgency of this initiative, that measures need to be taken to ensure that we address childhood obesity.
The Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements is urging the National Department, along its stakeholders, to expedite the unlocking of the Emergency Housing Response Fund, this being done to assist those affected by the ongoing floods in KZN. It comes in the wake of the recent floods that have claimed more than 20 lives in the last 2 months. During an oversight visit in October, the committee expressed concerns about delays in accessing the fund for flood victims, also stressing that these delays should be removed to ensure swift assistance to those in need. In a briefing this past weekend, MEC for Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Reverend Thulasizwe Buthelezi, cautioned residents of the affected areas against building houses in low-lying areas. Our Power News reporter Zweli Mazibuko has more.
As the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements expressed its condolences to those who lost their lives in the floods, it emphasized that in times of crisis, government must avoid delays and disputes. The committee expressed hope that the National Department's recent changes to fund implementation will improve the response to the affected families in KwaZulu-Natal. The committee says delays such as beneficiary verification and house damage assessments, which used to take 10 to 12 months or longer, should no longer occur. Additionally, it called for stricter monitoring of building standards to ensure that homes can withstand disasters. It emphasized the importance of using strong materials and conducting regular inspections. Zweli Mazibuko, Power News.
Staying in KZN, police in the province have announced that they will continue to intensify strategic measures which are aimed at reducing criminal activity. In a series of operations, the KZN police have arrested over 11,000 crime suspects, with more than 280 firearms seized in February alone. According to police reports, over 150 individuals have been arrested for murder, more than 150 for attempted murder, and over 210 for robbery. Authorities in the province also apprehended at least 2,700 people in connection with rape and assault cases during the provincial operations. Here's a KZN police spokesperson, Colonel Robert Michiunda.
Police in KwaZulu-Natal have recovered 287 firearms, of which 13 of them were rifles, as well as 5,825 rounds of ammunition of various caliber of firearms during various operations in the month of February 2025, which also resulted in the arrest of 11,007 suspects for different categories of crime. Firearms remain the weapon of choice which criminals use in the commission of murder, attempted murder, and armed robbery crimes. During the operations, 151 suspects were arrested for murder, 159 suspects were arrested for attempted murder.
To news on the rest of the African continent, a group of 10 MPs in Ghana have resubmitted a controversial bill that would impose stricter registrations, or rather restrictions, on LGBT plus rights. The bill proposes a 3-year jail term for individuals who identify as gay and 5 to 10 years for those who promote or advocate for LGBTI rights. Although the bill was passed by Parliament last year, former President Akufo-Addo declined to sign it into law before leaving office in January due to legal challenges. The bill has faced widespread condemnation from both local and international human rights groups, with many calling it draconian. It expired at the end of the previous parliament, and it isn't clear whether the new parliament speaker will allow it to be reconsidered. Now in Ghana, gay sex is already punishable by up to 3 years in prison. Taking a look at your financial indicators, the rand's at 18 rand 62 cents to the US dollar, 23 rand 64 against the pound, and 19 rand 52 cents to the euro. Gold's at $2,888.84 per fine ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $71.14 per barrel. A look at your weather for today. Another cloudy and wet day for Gauteng. Johannesburg will peak at 27 degrees Celsius, Tshwane 28, while Vereeniging will peak at 27 degrees Celsius. Recapping the top story in Power News at this hour. The chairperson of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, has raised concerns that a potential VAT increase could disproportionately impact South Africa's most vulnerable.
In power traffic, we start off in Buccleuch. If you're traveling on the N1 southbound, you can expect delays approaching the Buccleuch interchange. Soon as you go through the interchange to join the M1 southbound, traffic will slow down again, with delays clearing just after the Marlborough Drive exit. If you're traveling on South Road westbound in Morningside, traffic is heavily backed up between Marlborough Drive and the Rivonia Road intersection. You can also expect delays on Marlborough Drive westbound between the N3 and the M1 highway.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
Power Breakfast is proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
And now, you're listening to Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
The time is 8:09 and the Power Breakfast plane is about to land into the third hour. We're going to take a call just to respond to what we had in the last hour. First, we had the Minister of Correctional Services, but also the leader of the FF Plus, talking to us about land. And we have Moses from Bramley who has a comment about that.
Morning, Tessa. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself, Moses?
Yeah, Tessa. The issue of land, it's very problematic. I listened to you when you were interviewing Groenewald. He said the expropriation is not done the right way. I think you should have asked him which is the right way. Because, with white people seated comfortably wherever they are, we are asking them to share the land, Tessa.
Yeah.
And these people are still refusing to share we're not fighting. We need the land as people who actually belong to this country. These people, Tessa, they've perpetuated a lot of atrocity to our people. They've killed our people during the dark days of our apartheid. But today, they didn't even come during the TRC and apologize. But they still have got the audacity of running to Trump, the Paluca Trump, and said we are committing genocide against their people. Where do they actually get the nerve?
Right.
When, as South African citizenry, we are asking peacefully that can we share the land? Even the ANC, they made a very big mistake when after 1994, when they are still holding majority in parliament. Just said, they should have done and dusted with this land after 6 months of this freedom, and said, we definitely going to change some of the things in the constitution so that our people should be given land, they should have land, but they were comfortable seated there, enjoying the proximity of being with the power that was being during those days. Now we don't have land, and people are just running amok, painting us as if we are problematic in this country. What we are asking is land, Tessa. What about?
And you asked the right question. Who decides what's the right way? And yes, that's why I said, where's the constitutional issue here? What is the real constitutional issue? We haven't changed the constitution even around the wording, but the expropriation without compensation is something that is already possible right now. And given the circumstances of our country, our constitution starts with the idea that we are looking at and we're coming from the point of recognizing the injustices of our past. And so that we can't have a conversation that starts with recognizing the injustices of our past when we talk about expropriation, goes to the heart of your point that the past matters in this moment, and we have to take that into account as we have the land conversation, because we are all deserving of this land.
And also, I think the two-thirds majority thing happened not in President Mandela's presidency. It was Thabo Mbeki's presidency. But the thing is, what kills me with this whole thing is people saying you cannot be blaming me for the sins of my grandparents and all that. But these are the people who benefited, from the crimes of those grandparents. So this conversation, it must happen, but it must happen on their terms. And we need to get over that fact, and we need to know that there are things that are difficult. There are conversations that are difficult. But guess what? They must be had. They must be had here within the borders of this republic, because Trump is not going to be coming to dictate to us what to do.
No, and I think, Moses, you mentioned the point about Trump as well. And I think that it's really important for us to ask, where does the audacity come from for somebody else to be telling us about how we should be handling our land? So thank you so much, Moses from Bramley. We're going to take one more caller before our next guest. Lufuno from... so Lufuno will be joining us as our next guest. Lufuno, are you on the line? No. Not yet.
All your favorite hit music all day long. The best of the 80s, 90s, and now. If it isn't a hit, we don't play it. This is what our weekends are made of. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
Connect with Tessa on X at Tessa_Dooms.
Land as a hot topic in this country is not going to go away anytime soon until we're willing to have really serious conversations about the past. And I think that that's what's triggering people like Moses. Moses is not wrong in saying that we cannot just overlook what has happened in the past and say, it's about willing buyer, willing seller in this moment based on this era of time, and that's what we must base it on. The Constitution is 100% clear that we don't just think about what is just in this moment. We must take into account the past of this country. We must reckon with our past before we can just move on into the future. It is very worrisome when we start conversations about land, and we're starting it in this moment, and we want to pretend that justice is only about what happens today. Justice in this country has to account for history. This morning, we're going to be having two conversations about our struggle for liberation and the history of this country and what has happened in the colonial period, the apartheid period, that must be reckoned with. We're going to be talking about Maria Makeba in a few moments. It's her birthday today. We're going to be talking about Winnie Mandela as well and the struggles that they fought. Those struggles were not just about the laws of the day in broad terms. It was not just about where you could be as a black South African in this country. It was not just about where you could work. It was about a history of dispossession in this country that we have not tackled sufficiently. And so I do hope that we're going to get to a point when we're having these conversations now that this bill is promulgated, that we're not just talking about technicalities in the law, but we are also talking about what land means and what it has meant historically to the people of this country. We're now going to move on to our conversation about Miriam Makeba and her 93rd birthday. The Miriam Makeba Foundation is proud to announce that they will be celebrating Miriam Makeba's 93rd birthday. It is today, Tuesday, the 4th of March. And the pride of this foundation is that she is a national treasure. She is somebody that is revered in this country, not only for her melodic voice and the tunes that she carried, but because she, in a time where she could have gone into a different country and just lived a life as an artist and built a different career for herself and a different life for herself, she decided to think back on the struggles that were happening to the people in this country and decided to be an activist voice for change. And so we're going to be speaking to her granddaughter, Zenzi Makeba Lee. And Zenzi, thank you so much for joining us to reflect on the legacy of your dear, beloved grandmother, Miriam Makeba.
Thank you very much for, remembering, celebrating, commemorating Mama on her birthday. As you know, she would have turned 93. And I thank the listeners, I thank everyone for keep on remembering Mama Makeba. Yeah.
No, definitely. And as a granddaughter, what does it mean for you and the family to keep her in memory? As I was saying yesterday about our ancestors, that the only way that they remain with us is that if we invoke her in memory. What are the kinds of activities that you have planned, and why are you doing this gesture of making sure that the public participates?
Well, today, on this particular day, what we have planned is just, like I just lighting candles to remember her as a family. Whether we're all together at the same time or not, lighting the candle to open the way for all of us to connect. That's the first thing we're doing. Then further in the month of March, there are lectures that are planned, and there are also workshops. Mm-hmm. And then I'm also doing a concert on the 23rd at the Entitled Basement to also remember her, but also our mother, Mamsi Bongile, Angela Makeba, of which this is the 40th anniversary of her passing. And she was a great composer. She wrote Aluta Continua. She wrote, West Wind, many, many songs. So on that concert, we are going to be showcasing a lot of her works as well as the popular works of Mama Makeba and a few of my works as well, because I'm a songwriter too.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So that is on the 23rd of March, Untitled Basement?
Exactly, yeah.
So this is a culmination of really 3 generations of Makeba women and their work. Yourself, Mbongi, and then Miriam Makeba herself and the work. We've actually asked our listeners to share with us what their favorite songs are. And overwhelmingly, Aluta Continua is on that list. It's just the top of the list at that point. What are your favorite memories and stories about your grandmother? Things that we may not actually know. You are actually sort of named for her. One of her names is Zenzile, and you are Zenzi. So share with us from the family side, what is it that you remember her for as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother?
Well, we can start with the name on a lighter note. Yes, her name is Zenzile, and I was named after her by my mother, Sibongile. And when I was little, they used to call me Baby Zenzi because we were always together. And eventually when I turned, starting 13, around there, every time they'd say baby Zanzi, I'd say I'm not a baby anymore. And because whenever they would say Zanzi, we both turned. And then eventually she became Mom Zanzi, then she became Ma Z.
Right.
So a lot of people that know her very close, in the latter years, they called her Ma Z.
So
and
she
I
had
got-
a house
I became
name.
Zanzi. Yeah. So that's one of the stories, that I keep in my memory. But there's so many, and I'm sure not only myself, I'm sure out there in the public, worldwide, in her birth country, South Africa, different people. She has stories that probably are personal to them that they remember, and it'd be beautiful for us to share those together. They can also voice out their stories, but there's so many stories, and Mama Makeba was not only for her family, she was for everyone, for the nation, for the continent of Africa, for the African diaspora, for the world at large. And I think that's why she is so, remembered in the way that she is, because even in her passing, she makes changes. And that's what I remember from her, to be honest to yourself and to live your life and in your purpose. And she really did.
I mean, we do often have to, when parents or when big icons and figures live in our lives, borrow them to the rest of society. You mentioned that it's also the 40th anniversary of the passing of Bongi Makeba. Tell us a little bit more about her work as well and her relationship with Mam Miriam.
Oh, that was her only child. She only had one child.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was her only child. I was just recently, last year in November, I was in Conakry, Guinea, and she passed away in Conakry, Guinea. We were there, and that's where she rests in peace with my baby brother Temba, because I had a little baby brother who passed away. So I went to visit there where they rest, and I came back to South Africa on the 6th of November. But I was there. There's a lot of stuff to be done in Dalaba, renovations, restorations. There's a lot of stuff to be done in South Africa, in Johannesburg, the home where she lives. The projects that we're building, because she wanted this place to be used for the community. Dalaba, like a museum, connection between South Africa and West Africa and the world at large. And most important, what she really believed in were women and young girls, and that's the Makeba Center for Girls in Midrand, which has been years to get it where it needs to be. So we would love, anyone out there that wants to connect to any of those three projects to really come on board to connect with the Miriam Makeba Foundation. So the best present we can give Mama today is to bring ourselves together and commit to ensure that her legacy is respected, and that we continue to let it live on for generations to come, as she had hoped that we would do together. So that's basically all I got to say about that, yeah.
No, and I think that is a call to action. So you were saying about lighting candles today, about joining you on the 23rd of March, but also looking at ways to invest into these legacies. I think there are many of our icons whose legacies have not been taken forward and really memorialized in substantive ways. So if there are people who are interested in memorializing the life and times of Miriam Makeba in a way that not only amplifies what she has done, but passes that legacy forward, I think reaching out to yourself and the foundation would be a great way. But thank you so much for joining us.
One more beautiful poem that's out of the cloud is the Makeba Rose.
Tell us more.
The Makeba Rose is actually in a yard here, but it was done in France by Mont International. And they did that, Princess Diana rose. They did roses of different people, but we have that rose. That's another beautiful project that could be done where you could turn that into perfume, turn it into fragrances, and you can have them like. So there's so many elements and angles beyond just the music, which will always live on. But I would love it if we could all come together and give her that birthday present today. And invest, or whether it's money or whether it's just effort, ideas, whatever, just ensure that we keep it living and keep it alive. And I thank everybody I thank you, the station, for remembering Mama today.
And then thank you so much for joining us as well. And we will still ask our viewers at the end of the show, we want to end with a Maria Makeba's song. So keep letting us know, is it West Wind, is it Witch Doctor, is it Aluta Continua, or is it the Click song? Tell us, how do we memorialize her on the show today as we end it off. That was Zinzi Makeba, the granddaughter of Mam Maria Makeba. Now for traffic.
Power traffic.
And what's your favorite song?
It's definitely Aluta.
Aluta Continua. It's quite vibey, it's quite jammy as well, right?
Yeah, but it also just kind of speaks to the heart of the political moment and her going to Mozambique and writing that song from Mozambique.
Yeah.
It's just that strong Pan-Africanism that I love.
Yeah, she was such a well-traveled person because she lived in the United States. She moved to Guinea. You're mentioning parts of her life story in Mozambique, went to go live on in Belgium, but all just fighting this cause that we're in, that we continue to fight
100%.
till this day. Mama Africa, that's why she's called that, right?
Absolutely.
She loves Africa that much. Let's check out what's happening in your roads. On the N1 South, you can expect delays between Rivonia Road and the Winnie Mandela Drive exit. Queuing traffic in Bryanston can be expected on Ballyclare as well as Bryanston Drive eastbound. Both routes are backed up approaching Coleraine Drive. If you're headed towards the Sandton CBD, you can expect some major delays on main routes approaching the CBD. That's including Greyston, Catherine, Sandton Drive, as well as South Road in Morningside approaching Rivonia. If you're traveling on the M1 North, you can also expect delays as you're headed towards the Greyston Drive exit. If you're traveling on the M2 westbound in central Joburg, traffic is backed up between Heidelberg and the Crown interchange. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents you'd like to report, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm Lebohang Pukela.
Power traffic.
Midnight Oil has a very distinct smell for business owners. Those who know will say it's got grit and graft. That's why Telkom Business wants to unleash the hero in you with the Business Fusion deal. Get a Packard Bell Montenero laptop, LTE 120 gigs anytime data, 120 gigs night surfer data, Smart Voice Basic plus a professional website for only 749 Rand per month. Call 10213, click telkom.co.za or go to any Telkom shop. TNC apply. Telkom. Possible begins here.
The G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group technical meeting has kicked off in the Western Cape. From March 3rd to 5th, the global leaders are convening to tackle critical anti-corruption strategies. Discussions will focus on three key areas, focusing on public sector integrity, enhancing asset recovery, and promoting inclusive participation. This meeting marks a step forward in global accountability. This is a message by the Department of Public Service and Administration.
Power markets.
So we are going to move to our power update. Our power market update with David Shapiro, the Chief Global Equity Strategist at Sasfin Securities. Welcome, David, to the show. Italia bets on cost efficiencies and global and digital expansion. Tell us more about what's happening in that story.
Sorry, I missed that first word. I apologize. Which company?
It is now I'm fumbling.
Hey, did you mean Italtal?
Italtal. I think I said Italia.
Italia. That's why I was a little confused. But Tessa, listen, this is a company with a proud history in South Africa, and I think its results really reflect toughness at the bottom end of the market. You know, they manufacture tiles. They also sell tiles, and without big expansion into the housing market or into the building market, they do take a little bit of pressure. But this is a good business. What they did say in the second quarter of their first half, you're going to have to work that out. Second quarter of the first half, things did improve, but they don't see this going on much more into the new year. But a good business just being held back because of conditions in the economy.
I mean, PPC is not having the same problem. They seem to be having a jump in their earnings with new leadership, a new vision for their company.
Look, they are very much associated because, when people build, they buy cement. and then they lay down their towels or renovate their kitchens and bathrooms and so on. But I think PPC is just a change in management, new management coming in. But Tessa, again, without fixed investment, without big fixed investment in South Africa, I think a company which is probably one of the longest listed businesses on the JSE PP Summit is going to take strain. So we need infrastructure development, roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, all of those being built, for a company like PPC to do well. But in the meantime, it's doing everything that it can under difficult circumstances just to keep the business ticking over. But watch new management, fresh ideas, but unfortunately we need a strong economy here to help them along the way.
Sure, it does align with what the president spoke about infrastructure as a priority in the country. So thank you so much for joining us. We're at the bottom of the hour and now time for news headlines.
Moving to this, authorities continue to urge caution as heavy rain persists across various parts of South Africa. Recent reports of fatalities due to flooding have also emerged in KZN as well as the Free State. In the Free State, the bodies of 8 individuals were recovered from a stream in Heilbron yesterday after a vehicle they were traveling in was submerged. According to the police, the bakkie was swept away by strong water currents when the driver attempted to cross a low water bridge. The victims of 2 families include 4 children between the ages of 2 and 4. Police spokesperson Captain Lorraine Earl provides further details.
8 bodies were recovered from a stream after an incident involving a bakkie carrying 2 families attempting to cross a low water bridge when it was swept away. The occupants left Heilbron on Saturday afternoon but never reached their destination. They were reported missing at the Heilbron police station and discovered the next morning. Police divers and police search and rescue dogs were summoned to a
is
True.
that apartheid kind of stole family life
True.
From us.
Yeah.
And the spatial apartheid of it all meant that where the opportunities were, particularly for men to work, was
That's where
not
they went.
where
Yeah.
women were. And
Yeah.
whether it was about economic opportunity, whether it was about politics, whether it was
True.
about those opportunities abroad that opened up because of the kind of the exile period. We were just talking
Yeah.
about Maria Makeba. These kind of men go away, and we don't talk about the women that remain behind, and it's such an important one.
Yeah. So it is that. And I like that you also mention the opportunities out there and where the women are. And we also touch on the dislocation of home, because earlier I was listening as I was driving and you're talking about the land bill and how it has completely affected us and is still affecting us. We talk about how it was easy for people to get their homes being bulldozed off and to be sent off and shipped off. We're talking about Sophia Town, Lime Hill. We talk about District 6. We talk about all these people who are completely displaced and dislocated and because of political reasons. Then we talk about the men who went into the struggle, in exile. So the four women, when they come together as well, then after they compare their own stories and how they actually wait, they now remember that there is actually an icon. The epitome of waiting is Mam Winnie Mandela.
100%.
And how she has just taken all of that with grace. And while she was waiting, she didn't just sit. She was part of the struggle, and she held up a whole lot of women who were also in waiting, and how she deals with it. It is one of the things that, we know the story of Winnie Mandela, you can either love her or hate her. You can't have a middle ground. We are Winnie Mandela extremists.
No,
or you're not.
The time of her death showed that so clearly.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is. Hi, teacher. Yes, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. Please point at me.
I see. Okay.
Winnie didn't die. Winnie didn't die. She multiplied.
She
of course.
multiplied.
So why must I take my 13-year-old daughter to the market theater to come and see this? Why is it important? What are we looking forward to seeing?
Why we actually encourage the young people to come and see the cry of Winnie Mandela is that they can actually get a bit of a background of the woman that Mam Winnie was, and all the other women as well, because we are still
the missing women.
Yeah, the missing women.
The struggle.
We still have women in waiting, and also the show basically portrays the vulnerability of Mam Winnie. What happened when she was in Brantford? She was in solitary confinement, basically.
Yeah, it wasn't the 491 days.
The 491
in
days.
Confinement, but
exactly.
it was a house of confinement.
Exactly. She was just there. And with that, and we explore how she went all over the place with white people, very scared of her, but then still they had imprisoned her, but they were scared of her.
Yeah.
And we talk about we're basically threading the journey of Mam Winnie and how she is not just this hard person who ordered the killing of people. And we tackle a bit of the TRC as well to say, this is what she says. She says, I acknowledge that the events happened, but I refuse to take responsibility. And yet everything that I have done, I'm not sorry for. Yeah. If I were to do it again, I'll still do it the same way. So the cry of Winnie Mandela also explores the different element, the other side of the history of who Mam Winnie Mandela was, based on the thoughts of Baba Njabulo Ndebele.
So when we come back from the traffic, I want us to talk about the cast and the director and this being an all-woman effort. I'm really excited about
one
that.
Guy.
Power traffic.
Oh, what a beautiful show, man. I saw it last year at the Market Theatre. I think I saw it last year at the Market Theatre. And it's such a great story that my key takeaway was the fact that outside of the challenges that they're facing, it actually shows you that these women were actually the pillars of strength, the people that actually held society together during that time when these guys were either in exile fighting. Because the one story that you always ever hear is the story of the guys that went to go fight.
Yeah.
But there's a fight that's happening at home. There are people that are being raised at home. So it's an incredible show, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get time to check it out. I need to check it out again.
I'm doing a gang.
Oh, yeah?
Gang.
Yeah, we have to go and check it out again. Brilliant performance as well from you guys. You guys are amazing. Let's check out what's happening in your roads. If you are in Morningside and traveling on South Road westbound, you can expect delays between the M1 and the Rivonia Road intersection. Greyston Drive westbound is also heavy approaching the Sandton CBD. If you're headed towards Melrose on Corlett Drive westbound, a 20-minute backlog can be expected between Louis Botha and the Athol Oaklands Road intersection. Athol Oaklands North is also backed up from the M1 highway heading towards the Park Gallery Shopping Center. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm Lebohang Pukela.
Power Traffic.
The G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group technical meeting has kicked off in the Western Cape. From March 3rd to 5th, the global leaders are convening to tackle critical anti-corruption strategies. Discussions will focus on 3 key areas, focusing on public sector integrity, enhancing asset recovery, and promoting inclusive participation. This meeting marks a step forward in global accountability. This is a message by the Department of Public Service and Administration.
Power 98.7 has signed a code of conduct enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under this code, we are committed to broadcast news that is accurate, comment that is fair, programming that is not harmful to children, and contains no gratuitous violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, you may inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa by directing any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more information, please visit bccsa.co.za.
All the action packed in 180 minutes. Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
The time is 8:52 and we land the plane this morning with a special guest in studio, Ramachune, and I wanted to talk about the director and the cast of The Cry of Mama Winnie Mandela. What has it been like working with Momo, with Mbita, Ayanda Sibisi? What has that experience been like?
Wow, being on the the show, it's been such an incredible and spiritual experience for all of us. First of all, Mama Matsunyane, she's young. She's a pint, basically. She's like a pint of milk. That's how short she is. But she's so full of life, and she is so creative and so energetic. She thinks everything. She's got like a huge 360 overview of everything. She is the way she thinks, man. She is such an old soul, but yet with such young energy and vibrancy. And I keep telling her that, in a few years from now, 10, 15, 20 years from now, there will definitely be a Momo Matsunyane theater somewhere, because that's how much of a dynamite she is. And her vision of basically, the book was adapted by Alex Berger, and then Alex Berger then gave the adaptation to Momo for directing. Let me tell you, we sat there, we did workshops.
So you workshopped together?
We all workshopped together for 2 weeks. Then we went away, because it's such an emotional book. We started crying first day, oh my God, how are we going to do this? It was so emotional. And then when we started rehearsing as well, just that process, we found ourselves discovering Mama Winnie Mandela in a different way, all of us.
And that role is played by Tembisa.
Now, yes, it's being played by Tembisa Mdoda. And just opening those avenues and realizing that actually Mama Winnie Mandela is us and we are also her, And then it goes back to realize how in history, how history has been so unkind to her, has been so cruel to her, has been so unforgiving. not that she wants forgiveness.
No, and she was never asking.
Yeah,
She was never asking
she never
for
asked for it.
people's
She never apologized for
permission to be
anything.
who she was.
Never. And that has been. I mean, people like we've got Ayanda Sibisi, one of the best vocalists South Africa has ever seen. She's got such soul, man. It's like she's, hi man, it's like she eats pap, man, the way she sings, you know. And we've got and we've got Siyasanga Papu, a beautiful singer as well, an amazing actress, Pulane Rampuani. She's little. She's like a size 28, and she's the one who also does all these stretching and exercises for us. But she's such a ball of energy. And when she comes in for her monologue, you actually see her literally shaking because she's so affected by what she's delivering. And of course, yes, I'm the oldest of the people in the cast. I'm the grandmother there.
I cannot tell.
They say I'm the loudest, but they lie. You know, I know they're not telling the truth. And of course, we've got Les Made, who like basically embraced the character of Professor. In fact, when you meet him, you'll actually think that he's actually not right. You know, he's got that writer's thing. You know, when people, you know how writers walk in malls?
Yeah, creatives live in their mind.
Yeah, he's always in his mind.
And they create their own world.
Yes, and when he is normal, we think he's not right because we are now so used to him being the professor.
What are you saying about us?
I knew. I didn't want to call anybody out, but I figured someone eventually would own up to it.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
If you're looking for an example, BBK is
I mean, when BBK just volunteered himself, but I wanted to say, you know what, how they walk, you know, like BBK, then he said it. Yeah, but it has been such an incredible and humbling experience to be part of the Cry of Winnie Mandela. I hope it travels, it becomes such a huge legacy. I think this is a show that everyone should watch, young people, and also, you know, we also discuss the women's feelings and sexuality. There's a part of the story where one of the ladies, when the husband is gone, but then there's a child as well. How did that happen? And it's funny how society then judges, and they also wait. We know that one's husband is not here. We wonder who she's seeing. She's probably, you know, creeping with someone else. But we deal with that as well because it's okay for men to do that. But for women,
27 years in jail is not a short period of time.
No,
and
not
no
at
one
all.
is forgiving about the fact that women are fully human as well, fully themselves, fully sexual, all of those things in those times.
Yes.
But I'm really excited about this. I do a little thing called Politics and Chill with a group of friends of mine that love politics, and we've decided we're going gang.
Please,
to the last
come.
week, and we're going to just kind of invade your space. So if you see us coming there in a big group in a bundle, it's because we believe in the arts as an expression for political awareness and consciousness building. And I think the arts have not been given their rightful space in this country and place. And that's why I said to you earlier, your role as an actress in terms of what, creating that, projecting the times, telling us the stories, giving us consciousness is one that I just appreciate so much. And when you do your craft as well as you do, when you lock into it, when you're like, I'm nothing but an actress, but being an actress is enough.
Yeah.
I just respect that so
That's
much.
Thank
and I cannot wait to see the energy that this cast of beautiful women will be bringing together. So
we're truly blessed. We're truly blessed to be part of this show. It's amazing. So I hope it runs as long as the West End shows have, as long as The Lion King has, as long as all these beautiful shows that are worldwide. I hope it travels, you know.
Yeah.
And I hope 20, 30 years from now on, when we are old and all of that, we'll have younger generations carrying on with the legacy of The Cry of Winnie Mandela as a play. It's a story that needs to be told.
That's The Cry of Winnie Mandela at the Market Theatre until the 26th of March.
23rd of March, yes.
Please go and see it. And let's make sure we support local arts, and particularly those that are bringing us consciousness and awareness. We are almost at the top of the hour, and as you can hear in the background, we've chosen a song, Aluta Continua.
My favorite song as well. I wanted to say that.
Fantastic.
Yes, and happy birthday to Mom Miriam.
And we're also going to, so one of my other favorite market theatre productions was about Robert Sobukwe's life.
Yes,
and one of his tags is the tag Love and Revolution.
Yes.
And I think that this is what this kind of work inspires us to do. It's one of my favorite things to say. And so we're going to end off not only with this song, as we wait for Dr. Muiseni Ndlozi, who knows a lot about Love and Revolution. We sign off our show now with Love and Revolution. Thank you so much for joining us, Rami.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you. Yay! exciting.
This continent is a home.
Time is 9:01, time for news headlines on Power FM.
Power Breakfast was proudly brought to you by Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
Power News.
Thanks, Tessa. Top stories at this hour. Minister Tembisi Melani is set to visit KwaZulu-Natal after severe floods cause widespread destruction, and the NPA condemns acquittal of 8 in Mulani fraud case. With the 9 o'clock news, a very good morning. I'm Tessa Dooms. The National Prosecuting Authority has condemned the acquittal of 8